This is Company Saturdays. Every Saturday, we present you with another company. Today, we're looking at 15 things you didn't know about Ubisoft. Welcome to alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello, Aluxers. Thanks for joining us for a fact-filled video about the 15 things you didn't know about Ubisoft, or Ubisoft, depending on who you ask. Ubisoft are one of the industry leaders for gaming and continue to create interactive and engaging games that consumers love. They were originally French but have expanded rapidly in the last 30 years into a worldwide corporation with many subsidiaries. The company is traded on the Paris Stock Exchange and currently employs around 14,000 people. Their main headquarters is in Montreuil, France, but they have offices in Asia, North America, and Eastern Europe as well. The CEO of the company is Yves Guillemot, one of 5 brothers who were originally responsible for the company's founding back in 1986. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. So, Aluxers, let's take a closer look at this gaming giant with the 15 things you didn't know about Ubisoft. Number 1. Ubisoft began on a farm in northwest France. Up until the 1980s, the Guillemot family ran a farming support business for farmers in the northwest of France and the UK. There were 5 sons in the family by the names of Christian, Claude, Gerard, Michel, and Yves. Their parents were keen for them to continue the family tradition and trained them in sales, distribution, management, and accounting. All 5 sons attended university in the 80s, where they studied business-oriented courses. It was during this period the sons believed that the agricultural business was becoming less profitable, and it was time to explore other avenues for success. Number 2. The precursor to Ubisoft was called Guillemot Informatique, and it was worth $7 million. By 1984, the Guillemot brothers had started a highly successful distribution company worth $7 million. In 1983, they began to realize that it was cheaper to buy audio CDs, computers, video games, software, and hardware from the UK and ship it to France than it was to buy at retail from French stores. They started a mail-order company that became an instant success because they were able to undercut high street prices by as much as 50%. In less than a year, the brothers had managed to amass a small fortune of 40 million francs, which equates to about $7 million. Number 3. Yves Guillemot's favorite game is Rayman. Yves Guillemot said that his favorite game to play is Rayman. One of the first games that Ubisoft developed commercially and successfully was Rayman on the original PlayStation, all the way back in 1995. Perhaps it's more about the sentimental value rather than the gameplay itself, but Yves, the middle brother of the 5 and current CEO of Ubisoft, admitted it was his favorite game of all time. He also likes horse riding and sailing. Number 4. Ubisoft was floated on the Paris Stock Exchange in 1996. The Guillemot brothers decided that the company needed to go public in 1996 in order to raise enough funding to make it an international powerhouse in the world of gaming. The initial response was overwhelming. Investors bought shares by the bucket load, raising over $80 million for the company. This money helped to build new development studios in Annecy, Shanghai, Montreal, and Milan. Number 5. Ubisoft's total equity is around $1.1 billion. As of 2018, Ubisoft has a total equity of around $1.1 billion. When you include all the real estate and intellectual property they own, their total assets amount to around $3.2 billion. This makes them the 3rd largest publicly traded games company after Activision and Electronic Arts. Their revenue for 2018 was around $2 billion, with a net income of $160 million. No wonder their share price has almost doubled between 2017 and 2018. Number 6. Beyond Good and Evil was their first flop. In 2003, Ubisoft released a game called Beyond Good and Evil on the GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation 2, and PC, but sales were extremely underwhelming. Most retailers had reduced the price by 80% by 2004 and tried to shift the remaining copies that just weren't selling. The North American CEO of Ubisoft, Laurent Detoc, attributed the release of Beyond Good and Evil as one of the worst business decisions of his career. The poor sales were somewhat surprising, considering that Metacritic, GameSpy, GameSpot, and IGN all gave it very good reviews. Number 7. Tom Clancy's games were criticized as propaganda and recruitment tools for the U.S. Army. In 2008, an anti-war group berated Ubisoft for allowing the U.S. Department of Defense to use some of its games as a platform for propaganda and recruitment. The Tom Clancy titles were particularly criticized for glorifying U.S. military operations. The games focus on heroic figures that work on covert operations as a part of U.S. military groups. The morality of the games were called into question because foreign enemies and terrorists are always painted as villainous figures, whilst the American troops are always portrayed as heroes. Furthermore, the anti-war group said the game was actively trying to warp players' perspectives of the military and convince more people to sign up for the army. Number 8. Ubisoft called out Electronic Arts in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. One of Ubisoft's big releases in 2018 was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and developers used it to take a jab at Electronic Arts. In 2017, EA was criticized for how much money players needed to spend on Star Wars Battlefront 2 in order to unlock all the game's features. One user complained on Reddit, saying they had spent over $80 and still hadn't unlocked Darth Vader. EA's response became the most hated thing on Reddit, with nearly 670,000 thumbs down. They said they wanted to give players a sense of pride and accomplishment. In Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the main character, at one point, is asked if she wants to pay to win by a gatekeeper. If the response is yes, then the gatekeeper criticizes her by saying, "Where's your sense of pride and accomplishment?" An obvious jab at Electronic Arts' most hated Reddit comment. Number 9. Ubisoft has 32 development studios all over the world. When it comes to creating new games, Ubisoft has 32 development studios. They employ nearly 14,000 staff members in countries all over the world. They have offices in Abu Dhabi, Barcelona, Belgrade, Berlin, Bordeaux, Bucharest, Kiev, Milan, Montpellier, Montreal, Mumbai, Osaka, Paris, the Philippines, San Francisco, Shanghai, Singapore, Bulgaria, Stockholm, Toronto, and many other cities. So being an employee for Ubisoft comes with a lot of opportunity to work and travel. Number 10. Ubisoft has made over $15 billion in sales since 2005. The total sales for Ubisoft between 2005 and 2018 is a whopping $15 billion. The gaming industry has exploded in the past 2 decades, and Ubisoft has been at the forefront of this arena every year. Since 2011, they've made over $1 billion in sales every year. The first time they broke over $1 billion was in 2009. In 2018, they smashed the record set in 2017 by nearly $300 million, with a total sales revenue of over $1.7 billion. The corporation just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And Alexers, these figures compare quite well with those of Electronic Arts. If you want to see for yourself, then check out our video, 15 Things You Didn't Know About EA, by clicking the link in the top right corner. Number 11. 35% of Ubisoft's revenue currently comes from downloadable content. Over a third of Ubisoft's revenue came from downloadable content and microtransactions in 2018. The reason that companies like Electronic Arts, Activision, and Ubisoft are growing exponentially at the moment is due to the explosion of sales potential in the digital realm. No longer do gaming companies have to spend large sums of money on the production and manufacturing of physical products. Everything can be bought digitally online. This avenue of success has been pursued mercilessly to the point at which Ubisoft can announce revenues of $1.7 billion for the last year without even releasing many new titles. Most of the revenue came from in-game purchases, such as unlocking new levels and characters. Number 12. Google has teamed up with Ubisoft to test its new video game streaming service. Google decided to choose Ubisoft over Activision and Electronic Arts to test its new video game streaming service. One of the main reasons that Ubisoft's share price has skyrocketed in the last year is because of this recent endorsement by Google. The deal means that Ubisoft has a secure line of revenue in a contract that will last the next 18 months at minimum. Ubisoft CEOs say this is a sign of what's to come in the future, as they hope to overtake Activision and Electronic Arts and move to the #1 spot. Number 13. The designer of Rayman was only 23 when it was released. Michel Ancel, the first head developer of the Rayman series, was only 23 years old when it was released back in 1995. He began working for Ubisoft when he was just 17, and now at 46, continues to play an influential role in the development of many of its games. The original Rayman has been widely accredited as the game that set Ubisoft on course for their international domination of the gaming industry. At just 23, Michel Ancel was responsible for the start of something huge. Number 14. Far Cry 5 is the most successful game in the franchise. Far Cry 5 was released at the beginning of 2018 and obliterated the sales records for all of its predecessors. It made over $310 million in the first week alone, making it the second fastest-selling Ubisoft title of all time, behind Tom Clancy's Division. Over half of the sales came in from digital distribution. The game had also engaged a record-breaking number of people. In the first week since its release, over 55,000 hours of user gameplay was streamed on Twitch, with over 117 million views for YouTube videos. Crazy! Number 15. Yves Guillemot has a vision for the future of gaming. In August 2018, Yves Guillemot addressed the China Digital Entertainment Congress in Shanghai at the China Joy Convention. This alone is a very good indication about where the future of gaming lies. European and American companies are eliciting the support of Chinese gamers and developers more and more as their nation rapidly expands in population and wealth. In any case, Guillemot believes that the future of gaming will rely on advances in cloud gaming, blockchain, and human-machine interfaces. He believes that large corporations must leverage the introduction of disruptive technologies to remain at the forefront of the industry. Well, Aluxers, that's a wrap on Ubisoft. We hope you learned a few things about this gaming giant. And now we have a question for you. What's your favorite Ubisoft game of all time, and why? Let us know in the comments. And of course, for sticking with us all the way to the end, you wonderful dedicated Aluxer get a bonus fact. Here it is. Number 16. Tencent owns a 10% share in Ubisoft. Chinese gaming development company Tencent holds 10% of shares in the company that was floated on the Paris Stock Exchange back in 1996. Many experts have indicated that more and more Chinese influence is finding its way into American and European tech companies. Since 1 in 7 people on the planet is Chinese, it seems only natural that large corporations want to permeate this market, as the ground for expansion is unequivocally humongous. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos, which we recommend you watch next. Thank you for being an Aluxer, and we'll see you back tomorrow.